It was a rainy Tuesday morning when Riverstone High seemed quieter than usual. The smell of wet asphalt mixed with the faint scent of disinfectant in the hallways, and every student carried that sluggish, "I wish I were still in bed" energy. Except for one. Brad Mason, the school's most notorious bully, walked down the main corridor like he owned the place. His Letterman jacket clung to his broad shoulders, sneakers squeaking on the freshly mopped floor. His friends, a pack of loudmouths always 2 steps behind, laughed obnoxiously at something Brad said, their voices echoing off the lockers. That was when Brad's eyes landed on a girl he had never really noticed before. She was sitting on the floor beside her locker, knees tucked under her, carefully repairing the strap on her worn-out backpack. Her long black hair hung like a curtain, shielding most of her face. She wore oversized glasses that constantly slid down her nose and a hoodie 2 sizes too big. Nobody ever talked to her. Nobody even knew her name. But today, Brad felt like making her the target. "Hey, glasses," he sneered, stepping into her space. She didn't look up. "I'm talking to you." The hallway around them grew quieter. People didn't stop walking, but they slowed down, subtly turning their heads to watch. "That's a nice backpack. Must have cost you, what? $1?" He nudged it with his foot. The girl calmly adjusted the strap and murmured something barely audible. "What was that?" Brad leaned in, grinning maliciously. "Speak up, nerd." She finally looked up, and for a brief second, Brad froze. Her eyes were strange, not in color, but in the way they looked at him. Cold. Measuring. Like she was scanning every inch of him, calculating something. But then she lowered her gaze again, and Brad convinced himself he imagined it. He grabbed her backpack and yanked it upward. "Hey! I'm talking to you." She didn't resist. She just stood, brushed her knees, and looked straight at him. "Put it down." Her voice was quiet, but the way she said it made a few nearby kids stop completely. Brad laughed. "Or what?" She stepped closer, so close that Brad's laughter faltered. 10 seconds, she said simply. "That's all I'll need." The corridor seemed to shrink around them. Somewhere far off, a locker slammed shut. Brad scoffed. "You think you can threaten me, little mouse?" She didn't answer, just counted under her breath. 10, 9, Brad shoved her shoulder. 8, her body swayed slightly, but she didn't break eye contact. 7, his friends were laughing, urging him to teach her a lesson. 6, Brad suddenly felt annoyed. He reached forward, shoving her again, harder this time. 5, the tension was magnetic. Students were now gathering, sensing that something different was about to happen. 4, Brad's smirk faltered. 3, "You're crazy," he muttered, stepping back slightly. 2, she moved fast. Faster than anyone could process. Her hand caught his wrist in midair as he reached for her hoodie, and in one fluid motion, she twisted, using his own momentum to send him sprawling to the ground. The sound of Brad's body hitting the tiles echoed through the hallway. His friends gasped, half reaching for him, but froze when she straightened, not even breathing hard. 1. She let go of his wrist and stepped back, her gaze sweeping the stunned crowd before she quietly picked up her backpack. Brad scrambled to his feet, red-faced. He stopped, because she was gone, melting into the flow of students as if she had never been there. Whispers erupted instantly. Who was she? How did she move like that? Nobody knew her name, but by lunch, the entire school was buzzing with the story of the shy girl who dropped Brad Mason in 10 seconds. Brad sat alone at the far end of the cafeteria, humiliated and fuming. And for the first time in his life, he was afraid, not of getting beaten, but of not knowing who he had just messed with. Chapter 2 10 seconds was just the beginning. Brad couldn't let it go. The more he thought about it, the more obsessed he became. Who was she? He asked around, but no one seemed to have any real information. Some kids swore she was new, others claimed she'd been in the school for years, just invisible. One guy whispered she was some kind of martial arts prodigy who had once competed internationally but quit after an incident. The rumors made Brad more determined to confront her again, but this time, he'd be ready. The next day, he found her in the library, sitting alone at the back table, reading a thick book with no title on the spine. He approached quietly, flanked by two of his biggest friends. "We're not done," he said, slamming his hands on the table. She looked up slowly. "We are," she said simply, and turned a page. That got under his skin. He grabbed the book, but before he could pull it away, her hand shot out, gripping his wrist again, same as yesterday. Only this time, her eyes hardened in a way that made the air between them drop 10 degrees. "Don't," she said, voice like ice. Brad yanked his arm free and sneered, masking the unease creeping up his spine. "You think you're tough? Let's see you handle this outside after school." She studied him for a moment, then closed her book. "No," she said. "Why not?" "Scared?" "Because it won't be a fight," she replied. "It'll be a lesson. And lessons are learned, not scheduled." Then she stood, walked past him, and left the library. That should have been the end of it. But at 3:15, as Brad and his friends waited behind the gym, she appeared. Not in a fighting stance, not ready to throw punches, just standing there, watching. "You ready to lose in front of your boys?" Brad taunted. "I'm ready to teach you what 10 seconds really means," she said. And then, she didn't move toward him. Instead, she walked over to his two friends, looked them in the eyes, and in less than 3 seconds each, disarmed them of their confidence entirely. A pressure point touch here, a step there, nothing flashy, but suddenly they were both sitting on the ground, confused and dazed. Brad took a step forward, but she raised a hand. "Stop. You've already lost. Not because I'm stronger, but because you fight to hurt. I fight to end it before it begins." Brad froze, realizing that no matter what he did, he wasn't going to win. Not this, not ever. She picked up her backpack and turned to leave, but paused. "You have 10 seconds, Brad. 10 seconds to decide the kind of person you want to be from now on. Use them wisely." And then she was gone. Brad stood there, the weight of her words heavier than any punch he'd ever taken. For the first time in years, he felt something strange, respect.